1 in 5 tenants are falling behind on rent in the Toronto area. Consumer debt notches up to $2.4 trillion. And we've also got rents declining in a few cities in Canada. But is this just a pullback, or is it a sign that what's happening with the student visas is actually starting to have effect? So we'll get into that and more in today's video. So first of all, let's talk about what's going on. So 1 in 5 Toronto area tenant households fell behind on rent in 2023, a significant rise over previous years. I mean, who would have thought it, guys, with all the cost of living pressures going on right now and rents being correlated to income? Who would have thought that this would have happened? So let's see what they're saying. 1 in 5 tenant households in Toronto area's purpose-built rental buildings fell behind on their housing bills last year, a new report has found, a significant jump compared to previous years as cost of living pressures have escalated. Whereas 12.8% of traditional rental units in the Toronto area region fell into arrears in 2022, the CMHC says its market survey shows the proportion surged to 19.6% in 2023 as individual and family budgets were challenged by high inflation, which of course includes inflation of rent. So at the end of the day, guys, people only have so much income, and their income is only growing at a certain rate. It is just pure fundamentals when you're thinking about rent prices. Rents cannot just skyrocket indefinitely in Canada. They can go above trend of income, but then they will likely correct back down, and that also happened right before the financial crisis in the United States as well. So it's worth noting that. So it's very interesting and sad what's happening. More and more people falling into arrears, a sign that the consumer is running out of money, quite frankly. So anyway, it's kind of insane. So how much credit card debt does the average Canadian have? Now, this is going to blow your mind, guys. It really is. So the average credit card balance for Canadians in the third quarter of 2023 was $4,265. But let's put this into context now, because it actually tells you from prior years as well. Credit card debt is growing for Canadians too. That is a number up from the second quarter, 4,185 and 3,909 in the first quarter of the same year. And it is almost double the average Canadian credit card debt from the third quarter of 2022 at $2,447. So that is crazy. A doubling in the amount of credit card debt in literally 1 year. Is that a sign that the economy is just doing fine? I mean, a lot of people often leave comments and say, I went to the mall and the mall was packed. And the thing is, you have to realize that consumers don't suddenly change their habits just because their income has dropped or because inflation has ate most of their income up. They don't change their habits. They just rely more and more on debt. And that's exactly what we're seeing happen until the bust comes in with the labor market, which is already unraveling. We've already seen the start of the unraveling of the labor market last year. It's going to continue into this year, and it's going to get way worse. And until people realize that, hey, lots of people are losing jobs, the economy is really, really bad, and they start to cut back, it's just not going to change. They're just going to continue to rack up that debt. So it will be very interesting to see what happens moving forward. But what we do know is what happened over Thanksgiving, what happened over Christmas, what happened over Black Friday. All that spending was just put on the credit card. So not a good sign at all. I think credit card rising at this rate is just absolutely crazy, to be honest with you guys. And then you can see here, average GTA rents see largest quarterly decline outside of the pandemic. So this may be nothing, or it may be something. And I'm going to link a video at the end of this one I'd highly recommend you watch. It's about what happened with the student visas and how the government was just lying when they came out with their cap. The applications were already collapsing. And we're going to get into that a little bit in this video too. So average GTA rents see largest quarterly decline outside of the pandemic. According to new data from Urban Nation, the average rent for a condo in the GTA fell 5.7 7% on a quarterly basis in Q4 2023 to $3.97 per square foot, or $2,821 per month for a 720 square foot unit. Oh God, it's just hard to even read those figures. I mean, what sort of country are we living in? When you take into consideration what the average wage is in Toronto, it is just absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. No wonder people can't afford it and are just completely screwed right now. So outside of the pandemic dip seen in Q4 2020, the decline marked the largest quarterly rent reduction since Urban Nation began tracking in 2010. On an annual basis, average condo rents rose 4.5% in Q4, a far slower pace of growth than the 16.2% year-over-year increase recorded in Q4 2022. So that is good news in a sense. I mean, it's good news if you're renting, bad news if you're a landlord. I mean, your costs are just fixed really, really high. And it kind of explains why a lot of landlords are selling, getting out of renting properties. I mean, I think it's so dumb that so many people are buying here in Calgary and trying to get into the landlord game right before an economic crisis. I mean, it's just crazy, but some trends never change. So rather than actual improvement in affordability, though, it was likely a response to the surging rents seen in the preceding 2 quarters, which brought the average rent for a condo in the GTA to a record high. Now, what's interesting is they don't really say about why that might be, but we're going to get into that right now. So Canada has seen a dramatic shift in international student applications. Gotta hand it to Better Dwelling for compiling this really good data here. And basically, I mean, this hasn't been updated, as you can see, but you can see international student applications, they peaked in May, and then they really started dropping off, even going negative 20% here. And obviously the government came out with their cap, but really international student applications had already started tanking. So the rents, as I said in that video that I'm going to link at the end of this one, could be tied to this in a way. And we're not just seeing this in Toronto either. We're seeing this in other places that you wouldn't necessarily expect, like Calgary. So let's get into that. Calgary drops in rental CA report, sees decrease in rental prices for single and 2-bed rent. Now, I was saying to people about this in Calgary that we were seeing 3-bedroom rents, especially the higher price rentals, really take a hit. I mean, they drop so fast. I've never seen a drop like that the entire time I've been in Calgary since 2018. And some of the rents, they went right back to 2019 levels on the higher scale, which I just found unbelievable. They've since kind of ticked up ever so slightly, but we've also got seasonality that we've got to factor in here. So seasonally, yeah, you usually see rents pull back and decline in the winter. We haven't really seen that though for the past couple of years. So it is really interesting. And actually, when I did that video, the one thing that hadn't happened at that point was the 2-bedroom or 1-bedroom rents were still going up. And now they've actually started to come down a little bit. The average 1-bedroom apartment in Calgary now rents for $1,696 versus $1,736 in December. It's a little change, but it is a decline that we're just noting here with the GTA as well, completely separate economies. While the average 2-bedroom apartment now rents for $2,073 versus $2,108 in December and $2,182 in October, so declining. So this is really interesting, and then it gets even worse when you get into the 3-bed and the 4-bed, everything there. So Calgary year over year for a single bedroom apartment was up 11.1%, while 2 bedrooms saw an increase of 9.5%. Those percentages were higher in Edmonton as it overtook Calgary's growth in rent increase, seeing purpose-built and condominium rentals rise 17.1% year over year. So that is a crazy increase. Obviously, the increase in Edmonton income has not gone up that much at all, and that's worth noting because eventually you're going to have rents that are going to go back to being coupled with income. It's like I said, they can decouple from that for a while whilst people run up their credit cards, lines of credit. It's unfortunate and sad that that happens. So now they've gone from undervalued to overvalued. It's just like, and you have to put into historical context where the rents are. You can't compare a city like Calgary to Toronto because Calgary, for example, I know for a fact because I've lived in both cities, that services pretty much everything everything apart from rent is about 20 to 30% more expensive in Calgary. And that's why I laugh my head off when people say Alberta doesn't have a provincial sales tax. I'm just like, yeah, but have you actually been here? Because everything's more expensive. You don't think that businesses actually change the prices and take advantage of that? Of course they do, especially the large multinational corporations like McDonald's and Walmart. And then you've got people that are getting ruined now by pre-sale homes. They're bankrupting people right now. This is turning into a serious thing. And more people who bought pre-sale homes cannot get mortgages on these homes and are completely screwed. So it is very interesting what's happening. And then this is also interesting, guys. I just want to show you this again because this was all about excess savings. And I told you that in Q3, the real inflation adjusted savings, they really tanked and they went below the 2019 level. I mean, they're probably somewhere off the page down here right now. But you can see here how rents, the nominal, is still above what it was in 2019. But what you can actually get for that money has completely crashed. And likely this is heading down to 2019 levels as well now. So things are really getting gnarly right now with savings. So it's very interesting what's going on. So anyway, guys, if you're looking for a video to watch next, check out this video, which is also about the student visas and what's going on. If you are looking for a VPN to get around Trudeau's authoritarian censorship rules, go to expressvpn.com/marketmania. I will see you